Hello and welcome to AM Agenda. I'm Ashley Gillen. Peter Costello has delivered a gift to Kevin Rudd today, writing a scathing opinion piece about the Coalition's paid parental leave scheme. Mr Costello is astounded that Mr Abbott wants to hike taxes for big business, and he says the party should have heard alarm bells ringing after the Greens endorsed the plan. For reaction to the comments and a look at the other political issues around today, joining me here in the Canberra studio, the Parliamentary Secretary for Employment, Jason Clare. Good morning.
Good morning, Ash.
And the Shadow Immigration Minister, Scott Morrison. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Ashley.
Scott, no surprises as to what I'm going to start on with you this morning. Do you agree with any of the points raised by Mr Costello in that article today?
Well, one of the points you did mention about what he raised in that article was what his criticism was of the Rudd government's health plan.
Don't worry, we'll get to that with Jason soon. But let's ask you about
that was important. I mean, he basically said that if Kevin Rudd doesn't trust the GST with the states with the GST, well, why not take it all back? Which I thought was a very interesting point. But I think, with Peter's article today, I think what it shows is that, Tony Abbott is no more a clone of Peter Costello than he is of John Howard. Tony Abbott is his own man. He has his own set of policies. He's made it very clear that he sees this as a big priority, to have a genuine, serious, fair income paid parental leave scheme, and that's what he's put forward. Peter has a different view to that. He's entitled to that. But Tony's the leader of the opposition, and he's directing policy.
So you neatly sidestepped around my initial question, which was, do you agree with any of the points that Mr Costello raised to do with the paid parental leave scheme?
Well, if we're going to have a paid parental leave scheme which is fair income, then it has to be paid for. And this government has completely trashed the budget, so you're going to have to come up with a way to pay for it. I mean, it was the same last year when we responded to the budget and we suggested that the excise on cigarettes should go up to pay for keeping the means testing, abolishing the government's proposals to means test the private health insurance rebate. So, we said it then. When we come up with ideas, we do put up suggestions for how we're going to pay for them, and that's what we've done on this occasion, and we've got a fair income scheme.
Hiking taxes on cigarettes is very different to slugging big business with an extra levy. That is something that goes against the grain for most Liberals, isn't it?
We had levies that were introduced on superannuation under the previous government. We had levies which were introduced to buy back guns. We've had levies in the past to deal with matters, and we've also abolished those levies when we could afford to.
It just sounds odd to me, Scott, that you're defending the Coalition's record on increasing taxes.
Well, what I'm saying is that people are suggesting this is some sort of major departure, and the truth is, in government, we introduce levies from time to time to pay for things that we thought were important, like buying back guns. And on this occasion, Tony's put forward the suggestion we have a tax on a small number of businesses out of the total that pay tax to fund an important scheme, which is fair income, not the hollow, shallow alternative that the government's putting up.
Jason Clare, look, as Scott Morrison mentioned, Mr Costello also slammed the government's plans for health reform, saying it's just going to create a new level of bureaucracy, and that is an argument we've been hearing a lot from the Coalition.
Well, it's not surprising that Peter Costello attacks the Labor Party. He's been doing that for 20 years. But what's surprising today is he's now starting to attack the Liberal Party. Peter Costello is the economic messiah of the Liberal Party. Peter Costello created the Liberal Party's economic credibility, and he's now just destroyed Tony Abbott's. Remember, this is the bloke that the Liberal Party describe as the greatest treasurer that there's ever been in Australia, and he's now just said that Tony Abbott's plan is bad economics. He's right, it comes off the back of what Barnaby Joyce has said, that it'll increase the cost of petrol, increase the cost of milk, it'll increase the cost of bread. For Peter Costello to be attacking the Liberal Party, saying that this is bad economics, is like Shane Warne saying you can't bat and you can't bowl. What he said is that Tony Abbott is not up to it. And Paul Keating and Peter Costello don't agree on much, but they both agree on this, and that is that Tony Abbott is just not up to it.
But hold on this show before, you have attacked Peter Costello for his economic legacy, and now you're holding him up as the be-all and end-all.
No, what I'm saying is this is the bloke that the Liberal Party say are the great economic messiah, the one that created their economic credibility. And for him, the person that is in charge, the former treasurer that the Liberal Parties hold up as the great example of economic credibility, to now attack Tony Abbott shows that Tony Abbott now has an economic credibility problem.
Scott Morrison, there must be some Liberals who are pretty upset about this piece today. I mean, Mr Costello isn't doing Mr Abbott any favours. The government is going to have so much fun with this in question time today.
Well, you know, Peter has forthright views. He's always expressed them. He's a very strong character.
Is it disappointing? You would have preferred that he didn't come out with this piece today?
Well, I mean, I think that these things are obvious, but nevertheless, Peter is entitled to his view. He's put it. I mean, Peter has been very critical of this government's record on fiscal management, and debt and deficit. I mean, I think the biggest disappointment I think Peter had when he was here in this Parliament in this term was to watch as the legacy of a positive balance sheet for this country was just demolished. And if there's one issue that I think Peter feels strongly about more than anything else, and that is Lindsay Tanner's and Wayne Son's destruction of the nation's finances.
Do you think, though, that your colleagues and even yourself would be urging Mr Costello to keep quiet on the criticism, especially at this crucial stage?
Oh, look, Peter's a free spirit. He writes articles every fortnight. I'm sure he's going to write a lot more articles. But the point is this. Tony Abbott is not Peter Costello. Tony Abbott is not John Howard. He's his own man. He has his own policies. He's taking us in a very clear direction, and you know, he has great support in the party right around the country.
That is one good point. Tony Abbott isn't Peter Costello. He thought economics was boring. That's why Peter Costello said that he would never have him as his deputy, because he doesn't treat economics seriously. And Peter Costello did treat economics seriously. Scott thought of Peter Costello very seriously.
Comment then, Jason, on what he thinks of Lindsay Tanner and
2008 you asked Peter Costello to come back and become leader of the opposition, and now you're disassociating yourself from everything that he's saying.
Jason Clare, you also neatly sidestepped my question earlier about health reforms, because this is the other attack that Peter Costello has made in this article. Mr Costello says that by taking some GST revenue off the states due to these health reforms, then it could be setting a dangerous precedent, basically. Mr Costello says, next are we going to see GST taken away to put into school boards and put into local police boards? And isn't that a fair point? Don't the states have a right to be fearful that this sort of, taking off from that GST revenue could continue?
Well, what we're dealing with here is an area